Hey guys, welcome back to Monday Mindset Mojo. I hope you have something tasty to drink because today we have Nick Bibeau, we have Joshua, Gracie, Konrad the Innerpreneur. What a handle Konrad has. And the question today is, why do some people seem to be able to, just break through those barriers, tunnel under them, go over them? Today we're going to talk about how success is actually not random. It's not a roll of the dice. It's all about preparation, and preparation begins with mindset. So today you're going to learn whether it's in writing, business, branding, personal growth, and success is a pattern. And when you understand the mindset behind those patterns, you can decode them, you can apply them to your life, your business, your relationships, and you can transform your life. You can transform those relationships. You can really position yourself for success. And so join us for the next, about 90 minutes as we're going to be diving into the mindset code, those hidden rules that top performers follow. Often they follow them without realizing it, but we're going to shine the spotlight on that mindset code and how you guys can use that code, jailbreak the code in your life to unlock that next level in your career, your life, and in your brand. And so we have Nick at Right Already. He's a ghostwriter, a blue-collar philosopher. He is in the powerhouse today, broadcasting live from the powerhouse. We'll let you know what that means in a minute. He helps entrepreneurs turn pain into power through storytelling. Joshua Aultman is here. He is a business mentor that believes that collaboration, and I agree with him, that collaboration beats competition, and he works to help people unlock their success potential. GraceAnneTruth is here. She's a speaker, an advocate for life. Man, she's a powerhouse herself of health and freedom and teaching others how to live with clarity. We had the clarity code last week, and with purpose. And my good friend Konrad at More Life Wizard, he's the Innerpreneur we're talking about. He is a branding and mindset strategist. He specializes in the aforesaid entrepreneurship, what a term. And he shows people how to live and to connect with authenticity. So we're going to talk about those hidden patterns of success, how to reframe your life, see obstacles as codes, how to get into collaboration instead of competition. Gosh, everybody else really isn't your enemy. And then that entrepreneur mindset, how to build a brand and a business by thinking differently. Thinking differently really will elevate you, your life, and your business. And we'll kind of close out with some thoughts on authenticity. So guys, I really appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much. What a great group of people. So I'm going to start off with my friend Joshua down there. Man, look at that clear picture, that cool hat. And I was so excited to have Joshua on here. Joshua, tell us about yourself a bit, and maybe some, what success patterns that you use in your life. What have you gotten to where you are today?
Yeah, well, it's good to be here, Doc. I'm happy to join you guys and see everybody out here this morning. Yeah, like you said, my name's Joshua Altman, and I'm having fun here on X, getting to meet some new people. I do some networking there as I get to build a little bit of a brand myself that I'm playing with. I came to the platform a couple of years ago, got involved in some of the art communities that it has, and some of their other activities outside of that platform. And I've been enjoying kind of partnering with some people on some back channels as I do, again, like I said, a little bit of networking to kind of help to eventually create this atmosphere or a space there on X to kind of help to promote a lot of the art that I see and artists who I know are, kind of struggling in the current atmosphere of crypto and NFTs and stuff, and trying to figure out how to navigate that. I enjoy that world. I enjoy learning about it, and really, I just love the art. So I came around getting involved in that, and in the process, I've been able to put a lot of skills that I've acquired over the years myself to good use, helping with some knowledge that I've gained through practical living and experience. So yeah, I'm just here to hopefully bring a positive perspective mostly to life for people who struggle shifting their own perspective. Something that I greatly was held back with in a lot of my life and a lot of issues. And nowadays, I'm finding freedom in the shifting of my perspective, and it's one of the reasons I've loved Mindset Mojo and all the things you guys are doing. Is this is all about reshifting that perspective and finding a focal point that's worthy, both for your focus and also for your own development of yourself.
I love that shifting focus. We're often focused on the wrong things. It's great to have you here, Joshua. Let me skip over here to Nick at Right Already on X. Nick, give us your background and some of your initial thoughts diving into this conversation.
Right on, Dr. Heath. Thank you for having me here. Awesome people. So speaking of my background, as you can see in this actual background here, I am in a powerhouse. I've spent 14 years in the electrical field, and I started here when I was 21. So about 2 years ago, about 3 years ago, I started writing every single day and writing online. And 2 years ago, I jumped on X as a way to start interacting with my audience. And that's what I thought was I was going to, start sharing my stories and sharing my writing online and get a bunch of fans and followers and, start making money from writing. What I found instead here on X was a really cool community. A lot of people such as yourself, such as everybody on this panel, a lot of cool friends that I've made that, not only am I able to share my stories and share my thoughts, but we're able to interact. Spaces and, live streams like this is an amazing feature of X. I think it sets it apart from every other social media that there is out there. You can really interact with people, build relationships, connect, and the whole deal. So I've been here on X for 2 years, meeting cool people, building cool relationships, and have actually started my own business side hustle of ghostwriting and taking people's stories and their message and helping them to share it and build a brand online. And so, yeah, I'm happy to be here and happy to hear what everyone has to say. Thank you.
Man, Nick's bringing the electricity. You can hear all the electric humming in the background there. What a job Nick has. He's got the electricity flowing in him, through him. Well, hopefully not through him, but around him all day long. Nick, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I want to save the best till last. We have two wonderful ladies at the top of the screen here. Let's go to Konrad. Konrad on Innerpreneurship. Konrad, let us have it.
Well, I'm a great believer that first we need to win our game within. How we feel, how we are within, then decides on those choices that we make in life. Therefore, that success really is born on the inside. Success is an inside job. When we are successful within, this is only when we can actually experience that success in the material world. Hence the idea of innerpreneurship. When we actually do go deep into that inner journey, we uncover what was perhaps stopping us from having those great results in life, be it business life or private life. And then by actually transcending those inner patterns, we can get to manifest those beautiful, beautiful outcomes in the business arena and also in the arena of private life as well. Therefore, by combining the two, for example, whether it's, I quite like the direction of sales, helping people to sell better, more authentically, more sort of according to a given person's profile, their personality, their style. This is where a lot of goodness can be had so quickly. When we stop copy-pasting those other people who aren't us, we can actually have magnificent results, oh so quickly and smoothly and gracefully on top of that. Because essentially, in the end, we sell our own time. We sell access to our energy. This is what those other people want to experience on the deeper spiritual level. They might be buying our products or services, but essentially, they are buying access to our energy and experience. And once we understand it fully, it's also easy to actually invite those other people into relationships, be it business relationships or private relationships. Because in the end, We are those beings who chose to incarnate, perhaps, to experience the physicality, and yet success starts on the inside. Success builds that inner magnet that then becomes that which other people want to experience. And if we can authentically explain to other people who we are, invite them into that core shared expression, let me put it this way, then selling becomes obvious. There is no more selling as such, as per the 20th century definition of selling. That's too slow, that's too passé. I'm a great believer in selling by the power of own personality and vibration. That incoming world, the era of vibration, is already replacing the era of information. We have so much information on anything we want. And now we are taking it to a higher game. Now our vibration, our frequency will decide our outcome. Not how much we know, but how we are. Hence also this notion of innerpreneurship, streamlining, clarifying, purifying our own vibe so that we sell and connect with other people from the highest frequency. And that makes us uniquely magnetic. This is suddenly where this slow physical 3D having to do this or having to do that becomes the past. Here, we can have a nano account and sell beautifully well. Here, with a bit of alignment, we can have amazing lifestyle because it's us. Because we aren't copy-pasting celebs or gurus or whoever else, but we sell well and we achieve success in every area of life because it's us and because we present it well.
Man,
over to you, Dr. Heath.
That's awesome. That really stopped me in my tracks. I actually was drinking a swig of coffee, and when you said copy pasting other people, I thought, wow, now that is a trademark worthy term. And so absolutely, Konrad, copy pasting other people. And it really dawns on me that if you really hone who you are and you begin to hone what you can do and what you have to offer, then it really does, sell itself, whatever you're selling. And I think that starts with what we're about to talk about. But let's go to the ladies up top of the screen. We're going to start out with Gracie and her hat. Gracie, welcome to the show today. Great to see you.
I am sending a big hug. This is Grandma Grace. And I'm so grateful to be here. I was fortunate to know as a little girl to try to figure out what do I want to be. And I thought maybe a librarian, but I didn't want to be indoors all day, even though I love to read. Maybe a nurse, no too much blood. I loved my postman. I had the same postman. Anyway, I discovered that I wanted to be a mom. I loved being with children. And so to be married and be with a mom and be a mom. And so I got to be 17 and I said, okay, God, you'll have to pick the man. And long story short, God picked an amazing man, and we were married 30 years and had lots of children, and I got to home birth and homeschool most of my 10 children. I still have 7 living. Yeah, I had a couple go up to heaven as tiny infants, and one that went to heaven 3 years ago. So to me, it's about being resilient. Success, just the term success, we have to define that because the world can give you the definition. But for me, success is surrendering to God and who He made us to be. It really comes down to that, and choosing joy every day. So part of that is remembering to breathe. I have these notes around here reminding me to breathe.
Hold it up there on the screen, Gracie. Does it actually say that? It says, I can't read it. Oh, breathe. Oh, I love that. I love that.
See, last night
but you guys are just full of such trademark worthy things. You could put that on Etsy and sell 1 million of them. Breathe by Grandma Gracie, And I think, see, look at her. Sheila's channeling that already. one of the best things you can do when you're in a difficult situation, a difficult confrontation, a difficult interaction, if you're sitting here on camera on Monday Mindset Mojo, is oxygen is the fuel for the brain. It's like jet fuel in the engine of your mind. And so learn to breathe and show that love to yourself. Showing love to yourself is breathing. Well, I tell you what, Sheila is a Triple Crown winner. She has now co-hosted a space with me on X. She has been on Executive Espresso this past Friday. And she's now our special mystery guest because Sheila I reached out to her last night. I thought, gosh, I really need somebody to hop on here and make it a good round 6 people. And Sheila said she's ready to go. So Sheila, welcome. Sheila has such a great platform, a great account. She teaches people such wonderful things. And Sheila, take it away and share with us your thoughts so far.
I am impressed. Good morning, everybody. This is a very deep group. I didn't know what to expect. And part of the way that I think is sometimes in life you get an opportunity and you don't have to overthink it. And so when you reached out last night, I was like, yes, I didn't think twice about it. Then I did have to figure out the time zone. But anytime that we see opportunities, sometimes it's best to just take action and see where it takes you. So when people describe me, because I do love always asking for feedback, I think it's really important for growth. I love to ask people, what are 3 words that would describe me? And action-oriented, gets things done, is one of them. And last night was a perfect example, and that's why I'm here today. I absolutely loved Gracie's point of view as a mother of 3. I've been a little bit of everything, an entrepreneur since the age of 21. I focused a lot of my own self-identity on being mother first. And that actually helped shape some of the other companies that I founded along the way, including software development. When the mobile application was born, I learned how to code and I switched the emphasis to education at that time. Bye. That's number 1, the eldest. He's now being an entrepreneur with my husband. That same company that we founded in 1995 is 30 years old now. And that's a perfect example of how I've been mother first, and we're thrilled to see that one of the 3 children is interested in pursuing entrepreneurship, perhaps take over that company in the future. The other ones, not so much. They have their own paths. And that's part of what, to me, having been a mom is how can I take the best of me and teach my own children from my own lessons, but also walk the talk. And so when Gracie said she had 10, I thought, wow, that's like an entire army, right? Looking back, 3 felt like a lot, but they grow up. And then when you realize you've done a good job and now they're independent, you're kind of wondering, did I do the right thing? And so that's where I'm at now. And the other thing that I think has made me very resilient has been how I react to change. I embrace it, and I am a firm believer that sometimes things happen for a reason. You just can't plan your life out to the T. In 1995, I was just graduated at a college marketing degree. My husband was graduating with a marketing and entrepreneurship degree. And we knew we wanted to be entrepreneurs, but we were just right out of college, and we were both working sales jobs. And if you would have told me then that I was going to be living in Managua, Nicaragua, which is in Latin America, manufacturing sinks, which everyone thought was toilets, I would have been like, what are you talking about? I was born there, but I've never really been there. And 1 year later, a death in the family led us to go back to Nicaragua. And the fact that it was a third world underdeveloped country, my father said, you just let me drive you around town. And instead of seeing the ugly, why don't you look for the opportunity and the beauty within?
Wow.
So I went back to Dallas, Texas, and said to my husband, who didn't even speak Spanish, would you want to move to Managua, Nicaragua, and start a manufacturing company? And 3 months later, we did. So those are just some examples of how we take on chances, we take on opportunities, and most importantly, we embrace change. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Well, thank you too. Thank you too. What a wonderful, wonderful backstory, Sheila. I really appreciate that. And by the way, you guys, when you have questions, we have a little over 200 people in the audience today. Thank you guys for being here. And when you have questions, just drop those in the chat. I'll pull them on the screen just like that. You have a wonderful circle here of collective wisdom, and so don't let that go to waste. And one of the things that struck me about Sheila during our Executive Espresso interview, and I put up a post about this, is while a lot of people are sitting around making excuses about how it can't be done, people like Sheila and Gracie and Konrad and Nick and Joshua are out there just getting it done. And so you have a choice. You can make a long list of excuses, why not? Or you can make a long list of affirmations about how you can do it, how you can make it happen. So on that point, guys, let me kind of go around our panel today and ask you, what are some success patterns, things that would make a person successful that you may have overlooked earlier in your life? And I'll start up by giving you my biggest one. And it probably has something to do with why I was in college for 16 years after high school. And that is, I thought that I just didn't know enough yet. You know, in a behavioral assessment called the DISC, I am, through the roof as a high theoretical, a person that just loves knowledge, loves information. And I think that's a great thing. I think that we should be lifelong learners. But you can get in the trap that I just don't know enough yet. And so you wind up spending all your time learning more and learning more and learning more, and having bookshelves and bookshelves of books on how to do a thing, but you never do the thing. Or you go to seminars and courses on how to do a thing, but you never do a thing. At some point, you have to make an appointment with yourself for success. And I mean, put it on your calendar. Now, what might that be? I'm not talking about the whole ball of wax. I'm talking about a single step forward. Taking a device like this, making yourself an appointment for step number one. Okay, you've got all this knowledge, you got all these books, you have all these consultants. What do they tell you step number one? And have you put it on your calendar? I have people that come to me as a clinician, me as a life coach, and we always have homework between sessions. And one of the things that I run into is you will find a reason to not do a new thing. Your brain is an expert on finding reasons to not do a new thing. Now, why is that? The reason for that is the brain is structured that new things, that is new patterns, are dangerous. And so your first response is going to be to talk yourself out of the new workout, talk yourself out of the new nutrition plan, talk yourself out of actually taking the first step. Sheila and I were talking about business plans, talking yourself out of the first step on that business plan. And so instead of focusing on steps number 27, 37, 82, focus on step number one, because that creates momentum. So my biggest thing was, and my friend, great friend Jim Corder, he runs Corder Consulting, world-class consultant for Target Training International, would always tell me, he would ask me, say, when do you think you're going to know enough to get started? Isn't that great about friends when they can kind of, as we say where I'm from, they can kind of gig you and prod you forward. And so let's go to Konrad, and then we'll kind of work our way back around the room. Konrad, what are some success patterns that you were overlooking way back in the days, or maybe that day is yesterday. I still have those things that I overlook, but what are you overlooking, Konrad?
Great question. Well, I would say that for me personally, it was actually not assessing early enough in life our family patterns. The way my family has been is a certain way. It's a story, of mixed entrepreneurship and working for other people and so on and so forth. And yet, at some point, I've realized that I am actually repeating some of those family patterns unconsciously, without realizing that, until something happened and the dots just clicked. And when they clicked, I was thinking to myself, oh my God, have I and we as a family been doing this for decades? And indeed, this is exactly what used to happen. However, the beauty of, self-awareness is that it takes just one person in the family to notice something. And suddenly it changes the game altogether. And so I've realized that, okay, this gives me an opportunity here. If until now, my level of success in various areas of life is such and such, and now I am also seeing how I am repeating those family patterns, using, the family sayings, things we say casually in the family, things we repeat and affirm to each other, during family meals, family occasions, and so on. Those opportunities for upgrading our lives were there all along. It was just that we didn't see it as such. We were unconscious to those patterns being repeated, time and time again, until finally some people in the family decided that, okay, this is interesting. We as a family seem to be repeating certain patterns. Now let's have a look at them. What is the pattern here? What is the pattern there? And lo and behold, very quickly, we decided that, okay, this map is really interesting. We have been, as a family, saying certain things which led to creating those self-fulfilling prophecies about the things that were being said, that led to entire decision-making chains, so that we carried on manifesting super specific outcomes. And that's why also I'm inviting people these days to use that shortcut of family. Once you step into that area of information, you can so quickly self-assess yourself and work with somebody else who can do it for you, who can provide that more, let's say, unbiased background. Because as it turns out, whenever I work with people, the same truth transpires. Within a given family, people think that things have to be a certain way, in a very specific configuration. And yet, experience shows that there are another, 5, 6, 7 billion of other people. And for those people, the obvious stuff can be very different. Therefore, when we catch ourselves thinking, oh, it's just the way it is, something has to be that way, right? Especially if we aren't successful to the way we want to be, to the level of success that we would like to experience, we will find people who have a certain level of success in the given area. Therefore, as that supercharged pathway, let's say, to vastly and quickly upgrading our performance and level of success in life, we can utilize that backdrop of family stories and family patterns to quickly transcend them. And suddenly it turns out that, okay, until now, we have been thinking as a family a certain way, but perhaps there are other ways, better ways. And that instantaneously can take a person from where they are to a new level of capacity, awareness, freedom, I would even call it. Freedom to self-express. because then we stop, right, copy pasting other family members or, other significant people in our life, and we step into that authenticity, that flow that is divine in nature, so to speak, our fullest self-expression. And on that note, I'm going to pass on the mic lovingly to you, Dr. Heath.
Hey, thank you. Konrad, that really stimulated my thinking about one of my favorite fallacies where people like to boil things down to nothing but this or nothing but that. Social media is full of nothing buttery, that's nothing but manipulation, or that's nothing but mind control, or that's nothing but liberalism or conservatism. That's nothing but, whatever diagnosis. But I think that we use that for ourselves. And the reason I say that is I was just thinking yesterday, I was about to graduate from high school. I had no idea what I was going to do. I was not an overachiever. I was one of the best, most experienced underachievers you'll ever meet. I did not excel at my GPA. I could care less. My goal was to graduate. Maybe, do or don't. I'm going to hammer nails for a living. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love construction work. My dad was a carpenter, the best carpenter ever. I still live in awe of what he was able to do. I'm nowhere near as talented as he was with carpentry, although I still like doing it. But I remember a gentleman coming to our house, and oh my goodness, I was so terrified because I had to give a speech to this guy. This guy was a recruiter for the airline industry, and I was going to be a flight attendant. I kid you not. I was going to be a flight attendant. You have to audition for that, So I didn't know what to do, but he actually is so weird now, had me stand up on the hearth of our fireplace and give my flight attendant audition. I didn't know what to say. Luckily, thankfully, I bombed it. I sucked at it. And so this is the result of successfully sucking at a flight attendant. But I thought that I would be nothing but what all my ancestors had been, none of which graduated from college. Just that this is all that I'm capable of. Again, not that there's anything wrong with that, but the thing is, it's okay to do anything you want, but don't do anything because you think you're nothing but capable of that thing. Get rid of that nothing buttery stagnation in your life and look at all the things that are possible for you instead of limiting your thinking. And so, no, I would not want my son to limit his thinking by what I do or by what his granddad did. Now, if he wants to do that, that's great. But don't think that that's nothing but what you are. Go out there and dream bigger, accomplish bigger. And I really appreciate you guys being here. Justin, a wonderful gentleman and a wonderful account on X. Good morning. Legends, great panel. I love Justin's middle name. Justin's middle name is Results, Justin R. French. And I really appreciate our other guest here, although I have no idea what that means. But I do love different languages. So there's you guys, a riddle for the day, special merchandise for those that can decode that. But thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate that and love the symbolism. We have a little over 300 people in the audience today. So share this out. Share the link. If you know somebody in your life that could break free from some of those self-limiting patterns, this is for them. Also, the doors of my Mindset Masterclass are open. It is a free community. All you have to do is go to school.com/mindset. That's SKOOL.com/mindset. Most everybody on the panel here is a member. And hey, here's one of our wonderful, wonderful community members, Sarah. It is so wonderful. Talk about an icon of breaking the mold, an icon of putting herself out there. Sarah comes and speaks in my spaces almost every day, and I just have grown to love hearing her voice. And I love those emojis that Gracie's popping up there. Those are awesome. I don't even know how to do that. But thank you guys so much. We're going to be here for about the next 50 minutes. So drop your thoughts and comments in the chat. I want to hop over here to Joshua. And Joshua, share with us some of those success patterns that you used to overlook in your life.
Oh, my number one is failure, 100% for me. I can only ever speak from my personal experience, but I got to tell you, I used to, well, like most people, abhor failure. In fact, it quite terrified me. The thought of it would hold me in place from doing lots of things. I actually did a lot of that trade work that you talk about there, Doc. I've been blessed to have a pretty decent head on my shoulders, but I love to keep moving physically. I'm an active guy. I want to always be doing something. And I've been successful in lots of different types of trade work. I've learned lots of different skills, and even went on and tried other things, tried working in the offices, things like that. And ultimately, whatever I do, wherever I went, I could usually excel if I wanted to. But I was always afraid. At a certain point, I would always get afraid, and still can struggle with this. I think most people can relate to, you're doing well, things are going good, and then there's this self-sabotage thing would always kick in for me, where I would just feel like, oh, at some point things are just going too good. I'm going to fail soon. I don't know, what it'll be, but it's coming. There's been some good going lately. I just know something bad's coming, and that fear, that expectation of that failure used to keep me really rooted from real progress in my life. But I've learned, and I'm in a season now even where I'm growing to appreciate so much more the ability to take a moment in failure, examine that failure, and really learn from it. And as I've practiced, and it's not always easy to do this, of course, but as I practice that, and even at times push myself into some uncomfortable zones and areas to stretch myself just enough so that I always kind of remember a little bit of that fear, and I remember a little bit of what failure feels like. I like being in that state more and more, because not in the state of failure, but I like taking a moment in that state and really trying to see what I can find out about myself from it, because there really is always something I find out about myself when I really take the time to examine those moments. But I'm stubborn. I'm a man, to be first, but other than that, I'm a flawed one. And, sometimes I don't want to take that moment. I don't want to look inside. And I love, I think one of the guys was saying earlier, the thing about our family experiences, being willing to listen to that, like there's a lot of power in the communal raising of ourselves, you might say, but you got to participate in that. You've got to be willing to sit and have the conversations, to sit and listen, to hear people out. And again, I go back to perspective, to open yourself up to new perspectives. It doesn't mean you always have to accept them as truth or as your own, but it's important to understand all the other perspectives around you. For me, failure was an excellent place to start absorbing and learning those perspectives from.
Yeah, I with my son, it dawns on me as you're talking, Joshua, that it's really also not just about us. We have a bottom row of men here, wonderfully wise men. And I think that men forget how big an influence we're meant to be on future men. So how would these supposed future men learn how to differentiate who they are from a single failure, multiple failures, or serial failures if we don't teach them, like I put on the screen here one more time? Thank you all my listeners from Facebook. Good to see you guys here. How would they learn how to differentiate and realize that failure is just it's an event? That event doesn't become what you are. It's just an event, Truman from Independence, Missouri. I stopped by his house one time. It's kind of a museum now, and he was a serial failure in business, but he became the president of the nation. So don't let an event, a few events or even a serial daisy chain of events lead you to believe that that's what you have become. Those are just events. That's like thinking that since you were once upon a time in a garage, that you became a broken down automobile. Or in my state, when I first moved to my state of Arkansas, we didn't have indoor plumbing. We had an outhouse. Now, some of you don't know what an outhouse is, but it's a wooden structure over a pit into which all of the we'll say offerings wind up when you go to the toilet. You know, there's no flush handle. It's just a big pit. So thinking that since you're once in an outhouse, you're a piece of you know what. No. Stop saying nasty things to yourself. That's not going to help you. Plus, it's not going to help those that are watching you. And there are always eyeballs on you watching how you deal with this situation. And those eyeballs may just be learning all the wrong things. So show those that are watching you, namely your kids, it's okay to fail. Don't let that become a descriptor of who you are or a limitation of what you can do next. That is literally, as I say, be this multi-syllable word. What is it? 4-syllable word. My dad would call that a 4-dot word. Be unstoppable. Your greatest ability is your unstoppability. So be unstoppable. I'm going to head over to Sheila. What are some of those, those success codes that you were overlooking that you finally tackled in your life?
I've taken so many notes because that's
Sheila, the note taker. I love it, man. I don't have time to write down all my notes. I've got pages and pages of electronic notes. Grace has got her notebook there. Yeah, guys, you should do that. If you're not taking notes, you can go back and replay this. It lives inside the Mindset Masterclass. It's also over on YouTube at Therapy Bites. And so, yeah, go back, listen again, let the information sink in. Don't leave all this wisdom on the table.
No, and hearing more Life Wizard, he had me, in the zone. And when he was talking about the self-reflection, the self-awareness, this is what I had mentioned that's so important, right? Because you always need to be aware of where you're at, what you're feeling, even when we're failing, right? You just talked about failure. We need to take that time to just reflect and perhaps even be grateful for what did go right within the failure, right? By seeing it from a different perspective, you're able to change that mindset. And that's the word that I'm going to use for mine. And the reason I chose that one was after, hearing repeating patterns with, families, which I agree. And it's also your surroundings, right? You don't know what you don't know. And that's going to help shape you. And growing up, my family was, they were entrepreneurs. We worked in the office at 13 when you wanted extra money. And so I learned how to do bookkeeping as a very young girl. I used to play cashier because I wanted a retail store. So I'd have one of those plastic. I still love playing cashier, by the way. Even when I do self-checkout, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a real toy now. My son, to enter his room, he charged $1. It was a museum. He would set out his toys. I thought that was brilliant. I never took it that far. My little cashier was always like Monopoly money and plastic coins. But this is what shapes you. And so I would just have assumed that everyone has that same upbringing, because we tend to think that everyone thinks like us. And when you said, oh, I'm stubborn, well, I think that was me a bit growing up, right? My way or the highway. And that's where I think that as I matured, I was able to also see, well, what patterns do I want to embrace? And what don't I like? Because that's what I want to change, not just for me, but perhaps pass on to my next generation. And I think that I grew up in Florida, even though I ended up as an entrepreneur back in my birth country at 22 years old. Miami was it. I would have never thought there was a more beautiful city in the world. It has it all. It's got the beaches, the nightlife, and I was gonna just, why leave Miami, Florida? And when I was in college, I had the opportunity to move to London for a summer and then tour 13 cities during that summer. And that was a complete life changer because it showed me the importance of perspective. And I think that a lot of people think, the way that I've been raised or where I've been raised is the right way because you're closing your mind up to what is out there. And even if you can't hop on a plane a day with so much technology around us, by being open minded, tolerant, and instead of criticizing, even if you're watching a Facebook where you're seeing someone, not use the plastic gloves because they're out on a dirt floor, cooking some food. Well, that's what cultures are all about. That's how they do it. And sometimes they may even live a healthier life than you're living with your plastic gloves because they have no preservatives and that's all natural food. And that's just an example of how you choose to see, react, and communicate that situation. And that pretty much sums up what I think was what really helped me be able to be more open minded, which I think is very important when we're talking about mindset. Let yourself open up, explore opportunities. You won't see them with a closed mind.
I love that, Sheila. And the thing is, we can learn so much from other cultures, other people. And so when you have a closed mindset, you view that people doing things a different way is a threat to you. But you may just learn an ingredient to your secret to success by watching someone engage in a lifestyle which you're unfamiliar, a culture which you know nothing about. And so be an observer of humans, be an observer of humanity. You never know where you might find some of the greatest secrets of life. And so I want to go to Nick. Nick, what are some of the success patterns you were overlooking, and how did you finally decide, man, 2 years ago, you've been on X for 2 years. I've been on X for, well, back when it was Twitter, for a long, long time. I probably had an account for, oh my goodness, maybe 12, 14 years or something like that, but I did nothing with it. And then I decided, it's time to do something with it. And I think the point for me is the point at which I decided that I could just be me and I could make a difference. So what was that point for you, and whatever hurdle that you had to get over to get on X?
Yeah, I resonate a lot with Joshua's share about failure, and I think you nailed it. As men, we want to uphold a good standard for the other men, the younger men in our life, our families, our wives, our friendships, and the whole deal. And I think the biggest hurdle for me was to realize that I can actually capture my failures, my pain. That's the frame that I like to use. My banner on X is pain is potential. Take all the pain in my life and transform it into something powerful, into, reclaiming and my story and my failures and the struggles that I've been through, and reframing them in a positive way to help other people that maybe are going through the exact same struggles or are going to be facing the same struggles at certain points in their life. And this is why I think storytelling, this is my bias, is I think whether you're in sales, whether you're an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it is that you're doing, we are all telling stories. That's how we persuade people. That's how we touch them beyond the mind. We hit them in the heart, is through telling a really good story. And I just finally reframed all of the events in my life of let me tell a really good story about this. And this is something I've said before too, is storytelling is the ultimate life hack, because good or bad things can happen to you. You can have amazing success, or pain and struggle and failure, but no matter what, you can always tell a good story about it. So there's no such thing as an event in your life that's a bad story, right? Sometimes the worst things, the worst tragedies, the worst failures can turn into the best stories. And so that was one of the big frames for me. Another cliche I'm going to copy and paste, sorry, Konrad, but I think it's a useful one, is life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. This is the mantra that I use all the time, is when something happens and I go like, I feel myself wanting to play the victim, or wanting to see some way that, this is happening to me. I go, no, this is happening for me. I'm going to be able to pull some lessons out of this. I'm going to be able to tell a great story about this and empower other people, give them the opportunity to do the same. No matter what happens in your life, you ultimately get to choose the meaning. I'm a big Viktor Frankl fan, Man's Search for Meaning. He was in the worst situation imaginable, in a concentration camp. He had everything taken from him, his family, the whole deal. And when everything was taken from him, he realized the one thing that he could choose was what it meant, the meaning behind it. And so for me, all of the meaning I was giving of, why am I going to write online? Nobody's going to care. People are going to judge me. They're going to see me a certain way. I'm going to set, some sort of an example to other people that I'm not a perfect person. No, let me choose the meaning that actually my truth, my authentic story is valuable. It's going to help other people. And what I've realized in the last 2 years has been beyond my expectations. It has helped a lot of people. I've had more than I can count people coming in my DMs, having conversations with me of like, hey, your story about your divorce, helped me finally get out of that relationship that I never thought I could. Your story about finding your new wife and falling in love, at a coffee shop, that encouraged me to literally, no joke here, literally go up to a girl in a coffee shop and ask her out. And now they've been dating for 6 months. And these are all just from me telling my story, sharing my authentic experience, and it's helping other people. And that's the best payment that I ever could imagine for doing that. So
That sounds like a great Lifetime movie of the week. Love at the local coffee shop,
I'm working on Love at First Sip. I'm going to try to
Love
sell
at First Sip. That's awesome. Love at First Sip. And I keep on putting this on the screen, Nick. It's a great aphorism that, we're all telling stories. Tell a really good one, and you tell a great story. I have a question for you. Why do you think, and you other guys can chime in, but Nick, why do you think that telling a good story is so powerful? Why do people tend to connect with that when you tell a story versus just share information?
Yeah, I think this is like one of the things that makes us human, is storytelling. This is why we were able to go from individuals to working together as tribes back in the day, is we all got behind the same story. We got behind the story that, hey, and Joseph Campbell, if you guys are not into him, definitely read
The Hero's Journey.
The Hero's Journey, yes, because it was the storytelling of like, hey, we're good and we're safe here. We've been hitting on this theme again and again. I'm good in Florida. This is as good as it gets. Why am I going to go anywhere else in the world? Well, it was the best storytellers, the leaders of those tribes, that say, hey, there might be something better on the horizon. There might be something better on the other side of that mountain. Let's go and see. And this is the call to adventure that Joseph Campbell talks about all the time. And I think one of the best skills that we can develop if we want to have a winning mindset is learning to listen to those calls, to hear them, and then to answer them. And this is, one of my callings was to write. It was something that I ignored for a really long time. I had all the stories of why it wasn't worth it to start writing, start publishing online. I had people in my environment saying, dude, you already got a good job. What are you doing, in your 30s, starting this whole new career? But it was because I was true to myself. I was listening to that calling of, there's something in this. There's some reason that I need to start writing. And I told myself a new story. I said, it's worth it. Even though I suck at writing, I have dyslexia, I didn't have the best education, I'm going to go for it because it's a calling inside of me. And when you answer the call, the universe always rewards you. And I think this is core to what it means to be human. I think listening to that call, telling yourself the best story possible, so you can then go, and that's how you inspire other people, is through sharing your own story, sharing the stories of those that have come before, that have succeeded, that have, again, just believed the story that there's something better beyond the horizon, went for it, and then came home and shared it with the tribe.
And I think that's so powerful. The reason is, from a cognitive science perspective, is through the mirror neuron system, we begin to see ourselves in the stories of other people. Our kids begin to see themselves in the stories that we say out loud about ourselves, about them, about their future. Kids begin to believe that. Be really careful the stories that you expose your kids to, because coming from mom and dad, those tend to be very powerful stories. If you walk around and your kids hear you, channeling Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, oh my goodness, oh me, it's just another terrible day. I don't know whatever we shall do. Oh my goodness, life is just a terrible thing. Then your kids are going to channel that. That really becomes an infection of the mindset. But as I put up in the chat here, the most life-changing stories that you can tell are the stories you tell yourself. In cognitive behavioral psychology, those are called schemas or patterns. The stories that you tell yourself become a cookie cutter pattern into which you then pour your life. And many people have a really, really small, a really, really tragic, a really, really twisted cookie cutter pattern into which they pour themselves. Some of you guys are doing this, and so you're saying I'm talking about you. Good for you. That's the first step. Realization, that is the first step. But realize that, like in the cabinet right over there, I have a whole collection of cookie cutters. Love cookie cutters. Got all kinds of cookie cutters. Some are fun. I mean, they're all fun, but make it so small, so twisted, so catastrophic if you get to choose your cookie cutters. And so we have nearly 500 people listening right now. And so if you take nothing else from this space, choose the cookie cutter that you're going to use for your life today. That's what's going to be baked up into your mindset. That's what we talk about every day in the Mindset Masterclass. Come over and join us. And so when you tell yourself a story, realize that you're the author. There's so much external locus of control psychomalarkey on social media that it's the fault of the city where I live. It's the fault of my spouse. It's the fault of my work. It's the fault of my boss. It's for heaven's sakes, the fault of the weatherman who predicted sunshine and it rained. It's the fault of the government. Listen, you're going to get to the end of your life never having exercised the most wonderful superpower that any of us ever have, and that is internal locus of control. Your success is dictated by what's on the inside of you, not because of your environment or the people that, came to America would have never made it. Heck, the people that made Post-it notes, we'd never have Post-it notes if every part, every piece, every ingredient of success was located out there somewhere. So stop looking for the end of the rainbow and do what Nick just talked about and write a story about your own end of the rainbow. Decide what your target's going to be. Decide what success is to you. When I ask people, when they come to me for coaching or clinical work, what would success mean to you? A lot they don't even know. Well, if you don't know what your target is, you're guaranteed not to hit it. And so identify what your target is. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to be here for about the next half hour. And so drop your questions in the chat for our wonderfully esteemed professors of mindset here. And I want to hop up here to Grace and talk about what kind of mindset is required to have a family of 10 children. I'll be honest with you, I cannot imagine. Now, my grandmother had 9, and I don't know. I think it made her a bit crazy. She. How do you manage that, Gracie? And then now grandmother to, how many grandkids do you have? What kind of mindset is required for that, Gracie?
I have 8 wonderful grandchildren. And Dr. Heath, can you do me a favor and keep it on the big screen so I can see your faces? It really
Oh yeah,
helps
yeah,
me.
yeah. That's fine. I was going to zoom in on your hat.
Oh, well, a lot of to me
You
coming.
got the best hat in the house. I think if we had a hat contest between Josh and Nick and Gracie, Gracie would win the hat sweepstakes today.
Well, I love that my grandchildren think I'm grand. It takes a while to be grand. Not all my kids understand me as much as my grandchildren do, because I kind of stayed 7, and that's my superpower. My strength and my weakness is my voice and the fact that I'm more childlike, and hopefully learning to not be childish and be aware. I'm learning that I have these challenges, even in my 60s now, that I've overcome them because of listening to the right voice. If the world doesn't understand me, there's a God who understands me. And I read the Bible every day. It's been my habit. It's grounded me. So when you have to when you know you're an overcomer, not because of what I do, but because of what God did, that's how I overcome every day. Success to me is listening to the right voice. And I had a dad who was just 30 years ago, when my first son was, well, my second son. My first 2 sons have now gone up to heaven. But when he got to hold his first grandson, how blessed to see the love. That's the reward, is our grandchildren and passing on the legacy. And if we don't have children, we can model and be that father figure, that parent figure to many people. The Bible even says if you don't have children, you can be a father and a mother to even more than the 10 that I gave birth to. Most of them home birth, most of them homeschooled. My story is not over yet. It's messy. My mess is becoming a message to many, because at 30 years of marriage, that was 15 years ago, I was praying and fasting for my marriage, and God had a different answer. And I have to trust God's heart when I can't trust his plan. And so, like has been said, it's not for us. It's not happening to us. It's happening for us. And that comes from Romans 8:28 and 29, which is the last words my dad gave me. All these, though he used a code. There's the code, Romans 8:28 and 29. Most people don't know that the bottom line is things are happening for a reason, for our good, if you love God and understand we have a Father in heaven. And verse 29, if you get to the very bottom line, it's to make us more like Jesus, his son, the one who said, Father, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. The people that hurt us, they just don't know what they don't know. And I hurt people. I don't mean to. I really haven't meant to hurt a fly in my whole life. But we're misunderstood. And so it really goes back to the beginning. Are we listening to the right voice? And poor Eve didn't listen to the right voice. She thought she needed something more. She already had so much to be grateful for. And the enemy says, oh, God's holding out. Don't you want to know the difference between good and evil? And that's the problem. There was innocency, and a child is innocent. They're just living present. So to me, success is living in the moment, because this could be our last. I buried 3 children. I buried a marriage. That was probably the hardest thing I buried. I buried a dream of being, that grandma in the woods where the kids can come and play. And I'm redeeming those dreams. And I'm in the middle of my message. And if it's not good, it's not done. But you know what? I will choose joy every day. And I have to tell myself, and I do hard things. And that's why I'm here. I jumped in. I didn't know what I was getting into, Dr. Heath. You're tricky. And so is God. So I'm giving I want us all to stop and hug yourself right now. Let me tell this quick story. So when my son was 2, Joshua, I tucked them all in. At the end of the day, they don't want to go to sleep. So I'm tucking them in, rubbing their backs individually and saying, how was your day? How can I pray for you? And you find out what's really important at the end of the day. And so I'd be rubbing his back. And when he was 2, he says, Mommy, can I have 3 hugs and 3 kisses instead of just 1? And so it became our little code. And when he died 3 years ago, I started telling the secret. You know what? Take a hug right now. In fact, stop and hug yourself, everybody. Right now, because I need one. Stop and hug. I don't see you, Joshua. Come on, Joshua, give yourself a hug. Squeeze hard, and now send one to somebody that you love. And there we go. And now send one to somebody around the world that doesn't think that somebody cares. And let's tell our story for that one person. I'm here for you because the little girl wants to be in the corner crying and thinking about the things that aren't right. But let's choose joy. Success is, at the end of the day, choosing joy, enjoying God, and enjoying each other. I love you all.
Oh, so very well said, Gracie. Thank you so much. How wonderful, how wonderful. You know, what a way to bring us down to earth and then help us reach higher. And I love what you talked about, and it inspired a quote. Does your creator have a seat on your team, a seat on your board of directors? I read a wonderful, wonderful book years ago about this, and I think one of the best things that we can realize is that we don't have to go it alone, that we can actually have God, we can actually have the creator of the universe at a seat on our board of directors. And so I wish, if I would have thought about that, I would have brought the book. It's on in my library somewhere. But thank you so much, Gracie. Well, guys, we've got about another 18 minutes here. So if you have questions, we have nearly 500 people watching us live now. We appreciate this audience. Thank you so much. We're live streaming to LinkedIn, Facebook, X, and YouTube. And this will also be posted to my Substack community, drheath.substack.com. Waylon, thank you so much. My creator's my foreman. I love that. Absolutely. If you're in charge of your life, the wrong person's running your life. The person who runs my life has many different ideas, better ideas than I do, and that is my creator. So thank you so much, Waylon. What a great... I wish X would show your concurrent viewers. You know, there's probably technology coming that'll combine all the viewers, but I'm not in charge of that. But yeah, we have almost 500 people watching the show. Thank you guys so much. And again, drop your thoughts, drop your questions. We're going to get into a QA session, and so just pop up those questions. Thank you again for watching. How can our guests, our listeners, begin to apply some of this mindset code in their life? Guys, if Konrad and Nick and Josh and Gracie and Sheila, if you were sitting there having coffee with one of our audience today, and they're saying, you know, my life's a mess, where can I start? Or I'm having trouble in my business, or I'm having trouble creating, you know, I just seem to have lost that creative flow, Nick. Or Konrad, there's just so much going on in my life. There's so much noise. Hey, you know, Gracie is showing us one of the top tier techniques, you know, be still. Yeah, I love the verse, be still and know that I'm God. And the verse that talked about there was a big thunder and there's all kinds of noise, and then there was God was in the whispering in the wind. You know, I should looked up that verse. The still small voice, you know, so be still, you can hear the still small voice. And so if you were talking to somebody in need, guys, what's one of the first things that you'd say to them? I mean, where can these people listening, these wonderful, wonderful audience members, thank you guys for lending us your time. We're here every Monday, 7 a.m., Elvis Standard Time. That is Memphis, Tennessee time, Central Standard Time, U.S., Memphis, Tennessee time. Memphis is that way, by the way. And so come back next week. We're also back on Friday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time for an 18-minute quick triple shot of executive espresso. And if you guys in the audience, if you're a creator, an influencer, author, leader, innovator, entrepreneur, I'd love to have you on the show. If you have a story to tell, this platform here is for you to tell your story. Send me a DM on X. I am at therapy_bites. at therapy_bites, or better yet, join Mindset Masterclass and send me a DM. I'd love to see you in the community feed. But we're here every week. But guys, my guess, what's a good starting point for folks out there that, and you can pick a trouble, pick a struggle, and imagine that you're having coffee. And what would you recommend? Let's go to Konrad, and we're going to kind of go semicircle here. We'll go to Nick and Josh and Gracie and finish up with Sheila. Konrad, what do you think? Where can folks get started today?
Mm-hmm. Well, when I work with people, I invite people to have a good look at their lifestyle, because that lifestyle will very well manifest the beliefs, the stories that we tell ourselves. It's the actual representation of what we think. This is where we can see actually what we do and what the outcomes are. It's less conceptual than just thinking that we would like to be a certain way, or, perhaps that we could be doing things differently, because what we do daily presents our upcoming outcomes. So when we do have a look at our lifestyle, we can literally see physicalized outcomes of our current beliefs. Our beliefs create those decision-making moments when we decide that something is a certain way. We make a decision one way or another. We take then action based on that decision, and that continuous action taking creates that which we call a lifestyle. And so, in the end, in a way, our lifestyle is a bit like our mindset physicalized. This is where we can actually see the outcomes and results of that which we think and feel. Therefore, when we go down that route, for example, and we assess our lifestyle with this notion of being very open-minded, why is my lifestyle the way it is? Why am I making that decision? What am I doing first thing in the morning? And why? There are billions of combinations. A person could do a billion things first thing in the morning, and then a billion things next thing in the morning, and then a billion things after that. And yet, experience shows that we tend to be very habitual with our choices and with our lifestyle. We do super specific things out of habit. And when we reverse engineer now our lifestyle to seek those patterns, to seek the beliefs that are the foundation of those patterns, we can really reverse engineer our own psychology. And with that, not only do we have a proof of given beliefs being in place, playing out, because they are physicalized by our patterns, by what we choose and how and when, but it is a point of power. Because then we have every opportunity to upgrade our life in every area of it. Both in life, personal life, and in business, we can then start building our new actions, habits, our new lifestyle. And it's actually, to be honest, experience shows that it's way easier to create that slight difference, the upgrade of entire lifestyle, than it is to focus on building one habit. Because this one habit might be quite too, let's say, it can be a bit too taken out of context. However, if we already can think on a bigger scale, I don't just want to learn a new language. I want to learn a new language because of X, Y, Z, those future outcomes, connections, business opportunities, and so on and so forth. Suddenly, learning that new language becomes so easy. Of course, I want to learn, for example, a new language because I'm going to become a certain person, not just because I am learning a new language as a nano, skill. Quite the opposite. Not only, with languages, by the way, we step into utilizing the energy of a given language differently, and our brain, via the notion of neuroplasticity grows, so to speak. We become more flexible when we learn new languages. But even if it's not about learning a new language, when we assess our lifestyle, we can actually make those big, hard-hitting choices and change, my friends. We can actually establish a whole action plan of how to take our life from where we are currently, as exemplified by our current lifestyle, and find ourselves sooner or later in that sweet spot of the lifestyle that we would love to have and beyond. And this actually satisfies, as I wrap it up here, it satisfies both the mind and the heart, because lifestyle is so holographic. It's so full expression of ourselves. It's not just lists of things to do. Quite the opposite. Lifestyle includes thinking, feeling, taking action, right? Exemplifying a certain frequency and state. And when we do that, the impossible becomes possible because it's done. The impossible becomes possible because it is being done. And nobody argues with results. When you get results, nobody argues. So when we shift ourselves from the current state into that future state by adjusting ever so slightly, day by day, week by week, our lifestyle, it becomes a holistic change. It becomes a holistic upgrade. Thank you so much, Dr. Heath.
You're muted, Doc.
See there, I told you guys before the show I'm going to do that. I'm going to mute so I don't cough on the air, and then I'll forget to unmute. Thank you so much. Appreciate the assist. But yeah, everything's impossible until somebody shows that it's not. I remember reading about a 5-minute mile. For all of human history, the 5-minute mile was seen as impossible. And I think it was Prefontaine that finally broke the 5-minute mile. And then after Prefontaine broke the 5-minute mile, people whittled it down to a little over 4 minutes, So everything's impossible till somebody does it. Pick something impossible and get it done. Pick something impossible and get it done. But I think the key is, as I put up on the screen earlier, is you can't just do it just to be doing it. As Viktor Frankl would say, you have to give yourself a why you're doing it. I think that a why to do it gets you 90% there. But let me flip that on its side and say this. Ask yourself, if I'm doing a thing, why am I doing it? If you're going to sit on the couch and eat Cheetos all day, okay. But is there some part of your grand plan where eating Cheetos on the couch is an essential ingredient of that plan? And if the Cheeto eating is not an essential component, why are you doing it? I'm not saying that eating Cheetos is bad. I love the baked ones. They're better for you. Gives you an excuse to eat more of them, Baked Cheetos, great things. I wish I'd invented those. But if you're going to do it, what is the why that is motivating your doing of it? And let me just make one quick comment about that, and I'm going to go to Nick. And that is, please stop drinking the Kool-Aid that motivation is a feeling and motivation doesn't matter. Motivation does matter. I'll tell you why in a moment. And it's not a feeling. If you think motivation's a feeling, you're going to lose it every time you go to the toilet with explosive diarrhea. Okay? So motivation, the key word being motive, unless you have a motive, unless you have a reason to do a thing, it simply will never be done. And if you never do a thing, then you never have a chance to habituate it. And the stepping stone to habituating is discipline. So motivation is built on the back of meaning. And then discipline is built on the back of motivation. And then a habit that point at which in the brain you no longer have to consciously think about it. I don't really have a plan every day to get up and make my bed. I just get up and make my bed. It's just something I do. I brush my teeth. I make my, coffee drink right here. It just becomes a habit, So habit is built on discipline. Discipline is built on repetition. Repetition is based on motivation, a reason to do it. And that reason is your meaning. What is your meaning at sitting on the couch eating Cheetos? Maybe you're in a Guinness Book of World Record Cheeto eating contest. Great. I hope you make it. But what are you going to do next? If you say, I'm going to get fit and fab, well, why? Why would you do that? I'm going to quit drinking. Okay, well, that sounds like a great idea, but why would you do that? If you're telling me I've drank for a quarter of a century, 25 years, why not just keep on drinking? Evidently, it's working out for you, or you wouldn't keep on doing it. So unless you give yourself a motive, a reason to do a thing, that thing simply will not be done. Or if you do it, it's going to be short term. I want to thank again you 500 folks watching us. I appreciate your time. And I want to hop over to Nick at Right Already.
Yay, right on, Dr. Heath. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay.
You sound great. Thank you so much.
Cool. I'll focus. I'm thinking of having a coffee with somebody. I'll focus in on creative pursuits. Konrad hit us with the lifestyle, the overarching. And I'm going to think of somebody's saying, hey, I'm struggling with expressing myself creatively or creating a habit to write every day, to paint, to dance, to make music, whatever it is. And it's really right there in my handle. Write already. I tell people this all the time, is just do it already. Now, you do have to get into the why behind it. So I'm lucky to have a built-in, very strong why of why I write every day, because I started writing for my daughters, to leave a legacy, to leave stories and messages behind for them. So if I ever feel any lack of motivation or inspiration to write anything, all I got to do is think about them. What is it that I would want to write to my daughters? And luckily, I get to post it for the world. So if anyone else gets anything out of it, that's great. But it's very easy for me to just simplify it down to, I have an audience of 2. What is it that I want to say to them? And I would encourage everyone to do the same thing, right? So whatever that creative pursuit is, if it's creating a business, if it's painting, writing, music making, whatever it is, get to that why behind it, something that's so strong, something that you're going to show up and do no matter what. And then to Konrad's point too about like lifestyle design, I'm a big James Clear fan, Atomic Habits. Finding a cornerstone habit. This is something James Clear talks about. It's the one thing that if you do it, then the rest of your life improves around getting that one habit done every day. So an example is exercise. So if you make sure that you exercise every single day, that has a cascading effect, because you exercise, well, you don't want to go and eat the Cheetos or, have the cheat meal because you don't want to waste the exercise. You work so hard for it, right? Because you exercise, you're probably going to sleep better, which means you're going to have better mental clarity and you're going to feel better the next day and all of that. So for me, my cornerstone habit is writing, because when I write, it's like a meditation for me. It puts my head in the right place. I feel great. I feel probably ridiculously great every single day that I get the writing done, because I'm like, hey, I did the thing. And that's why I wake up early and do it too. Get it done. And then it's like, hey, the day's already won at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. Everything else is just a bonus from here. So yeah, that would be my advice, zeroed in on the creative side.
Yeah. And thanks, Nick. I appreciate that. I love journaling. I'll give a couple of quick tips, because a lot of people, I think, they get sabotaged thinking, well, gosh, just when I think about writing, my brain freezes up or something, So if that's for you, that's great. Go ahead and do that. I recommend that. I do that myself all day long. I kind of keep an ongoing journal. But my first win of the day is making the bed. I mean, just make your freaking bed. It's really not rocket science. You could probably look up a YouTube how-to video. You could do what I do and experiment with different ways of making your bed. And I do. I'm not even making that up. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm not even making that up, guys. I think, can I make up the bed on one side fully and then go to the other side and make the bed instead of circling back and forth, which is what I used to do. I'd make like 10 trips back and forth around the bed to make it up. So what am I doing? It's gamification. you can gamify it and make it interesting. I do the same thing right over there. This is my kitchen, right over there. I try to come up with different systems that work better at putting up the dishes. I found out that putting the dishes up on the lower rack works better because if you put the dishes away first on the upper rack, some of them hold water and spill water on the dishes on the bottom rack, and you got wet dishes, you know. And so I'm gamifying it. I gamify putting away the utensils. You know, I grab all the small forks and then all the big forks. And so it becomes a gamified sorting task. I do a devotional, which takes me maybe, 6 or 7 minutes to read in the morning. And then I read some Marcus Aurelius, which is a continuation of that. And I'm spending maybe, 15 minutes doing that. So reading something inspiring. You can do my triple shot meditation, which is do 3 minutes of mindful reading, and then 3 minutes of mindful breathing, and then 3 minutes of mindful journaling about what you just read and what you just sit there and discover while you're breathing. So there's all kinds of ways to do this stuff, you know. As Nick said, start out your day with a win. Joshua, give us, if you had somebody sitting there with you today, having a coffee shop conversation, and they said, hey, give me a step to get started, what might you share with them?
Oh gosh, I mean, again, speaking just from personal experience, well, we've all mentioned the power of meaning, purpose here. Once you have a clarity on your purpose, it should be I think it's usually pretty easy to look around your general surrounding areas and find something you can apply whatever you feel your purpose is towards. For me, most everything I try to emulate in my life is following the example of Christ. So I feel a strong calling or a purpose, you would say, to serving others in whatever I do. And it's unfortunate sometimes because, again, like I said earlier, I can be very stubborn, which is not helpful, it turns out, when you're serving other people. But no, I have found that as I try to pursue my own purposes, to keep myself in a position of service to others, that I found it really useful because I'm such a forward mentality person. I know Nick talked about having the audience of two to keep him kind of as in a constant state of reminding of his purpose. I'm a single guy, no kids. So for me, there's not that extra type of influence directly in my life. So I have to purposely pause to ponder purpose. I worked in those 3 P's I sent you in my notes, Doc. But no, seriously, that's a big deal for me. I'm actually a little jealous here of those who have the family situation right around them, because that is a powerful anchor for steering your ship and the purposes of what you're doing with everything in your life. So without that, I love that Gracie mentioned how, the scriptures even say that I love, that even without kids, it's possible to touch maybe even more people. So, I mean, there's this, for me, everything I do is from a sense of serving others. And when the stubborn me gets a little too bullheaded and forward moving and forgets a few things along the way, I try, and I've gotten in a better habit of finding time in my day, whether it be a devotional or just in a moment of frustration stepping away, but trying to make regular time in my day to pause and ponder purpose. And from there, once I'm solid in my purpose, that's when I can again move forward from whatever I'm at in that moment. So yeah, I keep bringing up stopping instead of saying things to do, but everybody here's got awesome suggestions on stuff you can do. I would just remind those watching, like in the middle of doing all those things, when you burn out, when it gets tough, when you're tired and worn down, pause to ponder purpose.
I love that. Pause to ponder purpose. That is so fantastic. I love the quote, don't just do something, sit there. Don't just do something, sit there. So the world is so full of do this, do that, do the other thing, do. It's really just do brain. And so you got to get out of your do brain in order to accomplish something. And the beauty of what Joshua just said is when you stop to ponder, most people really don't think enough. When you stop to ponder, then you are able to become an expert in metacognition, that is, thinking about your thinking. Most people just go around in a state of automaticity with their thinking, and they don't take time to think, gosh, I'm thinking I gotta have the Cheetos. Where's that thought come from? Where's the evidence for that? I'm thinking I can't do it or it cannot be done. Well, let me evaluate that thought. On social media, you'll see so much of people evaluating, judging, criticizing other people, and they never stop to be critical of their own thinking. That is, to think critically. And one of the greatest skill sets you can ever have is falsification. Looking at your own thinking and challenging it, literally falsifying it. You never know what you might discover. And on this point, let's go to Grace, and we're going to wrap it up in a moment with Sheila. So if you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. In the meantime, if you want a deeper dive, I welcome you to go to Mindset Masterclass. And I think most everybody here is a member of Mindset Masterclass. You guys can share what you think about it. But let's go to Gracie. Gracie, what are your thoughts if you're having a tabletop coffee shop conversation with somebody? Gosh, Gracie, I'm a young person. You know, it just seems like life is too much. But you've had these 10 kids and 10 grandchildren and been through life, and you're a life warrior. Man, how do you do it? Where do I get started? What would you say to them?
Oh, starting the day right, taking that first moment every day and the end of the day. The day hemmed in prayer, it says, won't unravel as easily. And I had to get up early and got I read a book that reminded me to spend more time on the inside than the outside, because that's what really is going to last. I mean, we can have our whole body get burned or something disfigured, and our body is a tent that's holding our spirit. So I always start with prayer. That's how I start my day. I start almost every conversation with prayer. I was praying before I came in here. I was praying for this space. I was asking friends to pray for me, because this is out of my comfort zone. Just like today, it starts with breath is prayer. I have a website that talks about these things, the things I wished I knew before I became a grandmother, the things I wished I knew when I was 7. And to me, it's about abundance of life and choices we make, the habits, and my habit stacking, picking one anchor. And for me, it was the Bible and journaling. For decades, every morning I read through the Bible for 44 years now, through the Bible cover to cover. Every year, sometimes twice. I listen to it now. You can listen to it. You can join me, listening to it. There's amazing apps, but I really recommend you reading the Bible out loud to yourself. Pray like David did in the Psalms. He was real with God. My children can be real with me. They can be themselves. I'm going to love them anyway. So prayer, Bible, asking God, he'll show up. He will show up. And when you get to the end of yourself, God will show up for you. And if I can be there for you, I want to be there, but I can't always be there. But God will hold your hand and walk you through and comfort you so you can comfort others. That's what he's done for me. That's what I want for you. I want you to have that invisible best friend that I've had for 60 of my 64 years.
I love it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I highly recommend that, starting the day with some meditation. And for those of you out there that say, well, but I do that and God doesn't speak to me. Why do you think that you're not hearing God speak to you? Consider this. That's because he's listening. The greatest listener in the universe is listening to you. Imagine that. God is listening to you. And if you've never done the comparison, look at some of these graphics on the internet that show the Earth, and then it shows the solar system by comparison, and then it shows the galaxy, and then it shows many galaxies, and realize how small a part of that you and I are. But that God that you think is not speaking to you is there listening. Because why? He wants to hear from you. Imagine God as I do, as the most amazing, loving parent you could ever have. that just sits there on the edge of his seat, just hanging on your every word, and how powerful that is. Create yourself a guided imagery exercise of God at your coffee table. And you're having a conversation. Have one of those every single morning. It helps. And love much. Yeah, that's what God does. And so thank you so much, Grace. I appreciate that. Grace is a great member of her mindset community. You post a lot over there. Give us some thoughts about that.
Oh, come! Thanks for letting me come join the fun. I love to write, and I have to try to edit myself, and I play with words. I call myself a player with words. So I just am so thankful to be on this panel. I have been taking notes. I'm going to redo the replay. Konrad, you always have wherever I meet you on Spaces, he's got a great mind, and sprechen Sie Deutsch? I don't know what accent you are, but I love the Zet. And Nick, yeah, right already. I actually had a vision of writing my book at the beach this summer. So taking some time to really do some more healing, because I've gone through a lot. I'm still, sometimes the people that are hurt, trying to help people before, and it's part of our healing, but sometimes we really have to take some really good sabbaticals, tickles, I call them. Joshua, so great to meet you. Sheila, you are Queen. I heard your interview. Go back and listen to Sheila's interview this week. She's a rock star. She's an overcomer. I'm so proud to be on this panel. I felt out of my comfort zone. I plunged in. I did my cold plunge this morning at 4 a.m. to join this group. And I was like, God, how are we going to do this? We got to make a way. And I wanted to cancel this many times since I said yes a month ago. I'm like, what did I get into?
Good for you. And the hat helps.
Success. You know what, Dr. Heath? God's my covering, and if the president's wife can wear a hat and know who she is and not worry about who's looking at her,
that's
I know
right.
who I am. I know
absolutely,
and I don't
absolutely.
need anybody's eyes, my grandchildren and my children and God. I love you all.
We love you too, Gracie. Thank you so much. Gracie truly is in the masterclass community. She is a wordsmith. She is prolific. And I, with great glee, read what she writes. It's great stuff. And we're going to wrap it up with Sheila. Sheila did a wonderful, wonderful interview, as Gracie pointed out, on Executive Espresso, one of her newest members of Mindset Masterclass. And I tell you what, when she co-hosted that space with me, we did a space on Saturday. She gave some of the best, most direct, supportive feedback I have ever heard. I mean, she is a master at supportive feedback. Sheila, go ahead. What would you recommend somebody to get started today to start turning their life around?
Well, I'm going to end it like I started it, talking about action. You've explained the why. I even took a lot of notes on the why, because you threw in all that psychology terminology that some was even new to me. So I'm going to focus on the how, and this is a how that has worked for me. And before I begin it, and I don't know if you want to type it, I'll also wrap up with one of my favorite quotes, and it lies at the very heart of my own website, SheilaSlick.com. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And so you may be hurt, you may be confused, you may be unhappy, you simply may be unstuck, or perhaps you're just ambitious and you want to continue growing. And no matter where you're at in this journey, if you've recognized that need for whatever reason, I think that's a great first step. And if you're here listening to us today, you've already probably, taken that first step. And if you haven't, take a moment to just take that breath when we hang up and think about what's missing, or what do I want, or just try and pinpoint one thing that you think would make you happier, or that you would want to change, right? Hey, I would love to lose 15 pounds. I can, just say that out of the top of my head. And so I know you had said put it in a calendar, but if I put something in a calendar, now I'm going to procrastinate. So what would work for me is to take the simplest action right now, so that I can come back and either hug myself or say, hey, I actually moved forward. So if I want to lose 15 pounds, perhaps a great first step would be I'm going to just find one recipe I can cook today that'll be a healthy recipe. It doesn't mean I got to, go on a complete diet, but that's going to motivate me because the moment that I find the recipe, I didn't even say cook it, just find the recipe, you're already going to feel better because you took action. And that's a micro step. And I think that works for me. If you're feeling boggled or you don't know where to start, I'm going to go back to all the papers I did. And what I call it is a brain dump. It's a term that we use, and you just, whatever's in your mind, just take a piece of paper and pencil, not an app, not a notepad. There's something about writing it down as messy as you can and just put the thoughts on paper. And the first time you do it, you're going to probably have 10 sheets of paper, and then you're going to just go through them and only circle 3. And then you'll realize by just having vented out your thoughts, it almost serves like it's a release. And by circling the 3 things, you'll kind of put a little bit of perspective as to what's really in your mind. Is it bills? Is it things you got to do? Is it health? Is it find that recipe? Those 2 little things have been ways that oh, look, it's 555. We have 555, and that's the number to change. Those are 2 things that have helped me take a micro step towards change. So those micro steps are necessary because the journey of 1,000 miles begins with 1 step. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you all for being in this panel with me today. I feel honored to have had so many interesting and neat people to be able to discuss things with today. And thank you.
Well, you're certainly welcome, Sheila. You're just absolutely amazing, as the rest of you guys are. Thank you for being here. And we appreciate our audience. You know, we're here for you guys. That's why we show up every Monday for Monday Mindset Mojo. We'll be back next week with a brand new panel. And for the panelists on today, thank you. You're always welcome back. If you have some time on Monday mornings and I have an open seat, you're always welcome to come and fill it and share out with everybody how you're learning to live life better. We're in this together, and so let's support each other. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of the week. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye now.